I'm John Green, and this is Crash Course U.S. History. Today we are talking about the 70s, a time of environmental awakening and a movement toward equality. Hippie culture arose with copious amounts of drug use and free lovin'. Mr. Green! So did you totally spend a bunch of time in Eric Foreman's groovy basement? No, me from the past. It was almost nothing like that 70s show. But the 70s was about more than just pop culture and living the high life. It was also an era of major political, social, and economic movements, which did include the introduction of the word groovy. The 1970s is when we first began to see a movement towards gender equality. Strong women like Gloria Steinem, Shirley Chisholm, and Bella Osberg founded the National Women's Political Caucus in 1971, which sparked the rise of feminism. That said, let's go to the thought bubble.
So as we know, women were never even considered equal to men. Even in Native American cultures, gender roles made it obvious that women were subordinate. Although women gained the right to vote by the 19th Amendment in 1920, they were really never really seen as equal in society. Now I'll take it over to Ms. Myers, who will delve deeper into women's rights.
Although still a controversial topic, feminism is the belief in total equality between a man and a woman. Betty Friedman's book, The Feminine Mystique, published in 1962, set the tone for feminists decades after it was published.
Yes, that's right, Avery. But in the 70s it was radical, and women went to extremes to make their cause and voice be heard.
Yes, women began to feel success in areas of business, politics, education, science, and law, making doors of opportunity much more numerous and further open than before.
Feminism was growing around the world, which was altering the role of women in society. Now that women had the right to vote from the 19th Amendment, they began to push for more rights, like the right to abortion.
But this rise in feminism had one drawback. It led to a higher divorce rate, leaving women to support families and a single salary. Thus, many more women went into poverty. While we're on the topic of oppression, many other groups throughout history have fought for rights, like the Latinos, children, Asian and European immigrants, and Stan, I'm missing one more. I'm not sure which. Oh, right, it's...
Good afternoon, my brothers. Too long through history have we been oppressed, and our leaders have been killed. Militant Malcolm X and MLK might have been permanently quieted, but their vision lives on in us. We are the Black Panthers. Negroes everywhere take a stand. Quiet those that wish to put down our movement. Speak out against the man. Don't be afraid, you have our backing. Any Negro that needs a hand, we will cross the land and take a righteous stand that will last through time's sand. We are there. I'm John Green, and apologies for that rude interruption that might have hindered the learning process of bright students such as yourself. Even though that was quite disruptive, he provided an awesome opportunity to clarify a few things. The Black Panthers were a bunch of radical, paranoid kids that misinterpreted Malcolm X's militant approach and created a more radical congregation. But the reasons for protest weren't wrong. The Black Panthers not only attacked whites, but also African Americans that were either related or in relations with whites. Because of the Panthers, many African Americans were discriminated against by the police and arrested for even looking, dressed, or just acting like a Black Panther, even with no affiliation. However, the Black Panther work was detrimental to their civil rights forefathers, MLK and Malcolm X. MLK and Malcolm X were trying to gain social equality by proving to whites that they are the same. Just doesn't matter what color the skin it is, they're still the same. Both Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X agreed that white people feared African Americans as they seen them militant, angry, or radical people, and Black Panthers didn't help that image, which Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X were trying to eradicate. The differences in personalities that were seen by whites were caused by the racism of the whites, so African Americans were just responding to what they were given. What are some issues that need to be fixed? That's a good question. For one, how about 16% of young African Americans are going to college, or only 10% of African Americans are unemployed, while only 5% whites are unemployed, Or even that fact that for every $100 a white person makes, an African American only can make $61. But while all this oppression and segregations occurring in the 70s, some African Americans are breaking social barriers. Jo Brown is the first African American woman to fly in the Air Force, and then later in the 70s become the first African American woman to fly a commercial airliner. Richard Jewell's breaking boundaries by winning national titles in predominantly white sports. Bill Cosby had a successful children's show that was based off his experience as a kid, as being used to teach elementary schools all across America during the 70s.
Time for the mystery document. The rules here are pretty simple. I read the mystery document, guess the author. I'm either right or I get shocked by the shock pen. Here we go. No responsible person contends the insect-borne disease should be ignored. The question that has now eagerly presented itself is whether it is either wise or responsible to attack the problem by methods that are rapidly making it worse. The world has heard much of the triumphant war against disease through the control of insect vectors of infection, but it has heard little of the other side of the story, the defeats, the short-lived triumphs that now strongly support the alarming view that the insect enemy has been made actually stronger by our efforts. Even worse, we may have destroyed our very means of fighting. It's Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. Yes!
The biggest concern in the 1970s was the economy. High unemployment and inflation shaped America to what it has become today. Solutions did not arise from a single individual, but rather multiple ideas from multiple groups. This dissed the Keynesian consensus that it is the government that can solve any problem economically, and opened the eyes of many people to new perspectives and ideas on the economy. This failure in the economy has come to begin molding contemporary American political landscape. The rest was shaped about taxes, which we'll talk about next week. Thanks for watching.